But if you are the prime bowler of your country, you should be there for the prime matches.
There is some work that BCCI needs to do with him.
Longevity and availability is an underrated virtue when it comes to any form of sport, any sport we say. If you are not available, it doesn't matter how much ability you possess, it doesn't help the team.
I'm not sure if you should be calling Bumrah the premier fast bowler that India has ever produced. I'm
So the squad for Champions Trophy 2025 was announced, and among the absentees, Mohammad Siraj was a notable name. On being asked about his exclusion, Ajit Agarkar and Rohit Sharma cited his lack of effectiveness. And now, cut to India's tour of England. Arguably one of the best bowlers, Jasprit Bumrah, was mandated to play only 3 tests. And of those remaining 2 tests, our main spearhead and the most responsible and dependable bowler became the one who was being criticized for lack of effectiveness. Mohammad Siraj, from being labeled as ineffective to being the most dependable bowler, the resurgence arc of Mohammad Siraj has been incredible. At the start of the fifth test, Dale Steyn tweeted that Pfeiffer for Siraj is loading, and he delivered. So we have come to the end of a dramatic series in a dramatic fashion as well. And Test cricket peaked once again. And with us today, we have a new guest and new friend, I would say, rather than guest, Chirodip. And we have Abhishek and Shatoidda. So let's start with all of you. Let's start by talking about Mohammad Siraj. And to start off, Shatoidda, being the pacer here, let's start with Shatoidda.
Has been a wonderful game. From I believe in Jassi Bhai to I believe in myself, Shiraj grew up. We have been talking about how Shiraj is maturing and getting runs in the and second matches. Now we are talking about how Siraj took 9 wickets to get the game in India's favor. Today morning, when we woke up, 35 runs needed, 4 wickets there. We effectively thought three. We never expected Oaks to come out, or rather, we felt that there would be a need for Oaks to come out. It was a done deal. It was 3-1 looking on the cards, but Mohammad Siraj had different plans. He randomly woke up, downloaded that Believe wallpaper, and it did believe in himself. What a wonderful performance. What a wonderful team game as well. India played really well throughout the match, and in England, 2-2 performance by a totally new brigade. Hats off. Hats off to the team, hats off to the captain, hats off to the coaching staff.
Right, Chirodip?
when I started this morning, I mean this afternoon for us here, uh, I never thought India would win. I was pretty sure that it would be done in half an hour, the way baseball works nowadays. Some friend of mine called me up and said, "Hey, two wickets are gone, and you better turn on the match and see it, what happens." And then for the rest 30 minutes, we, all of us, the entire nation probably, and people outside the nation as well, had their hearts on their sleeves. So I'm sure a lot of heart checkups were done in hospitals all around the country. And this is what Test cricket is all about. Brilliant performance. I mean, I do not want to demean the performances of the batsmen, what Jaiswal did, what Karun Nair did, but this was, for me personally, in sort of a biased way, it was a one-man show in terms of the bowling, as far as it's concerned. Because you do not win test matches by batting, you can draw them by batting, but to win a test match, you have to take 20 wickets. That's what
Yeah,
Siraj
yeah.
ensured.
Abhishek.
I won't say it was a one-man show. Rather, I would say the resilience which India showed. Uh, in the second day, after that 2 centuries, I think most of us were down, and I had hope. Like I was hopeful that if India is winning, it could be in the first hour. Otherwise, we'll lose the game. And thankfully, each and every ball bowled was for the wicket. It either it was a setup or it was on the stump. It was going uh, out for the batsman. Each and every ball was for the wicket, and there were misses for the boundary. I think the first ball of the day was a good shot, a great shot, which actually
Truthful.
had it was like a hammer on my confidence. But later on, that edge which went for the boundary, even that made me hopeful. Ki yes, there is something for the bowlers, and we did that. None of the players, we didn't see any like any player who was very you can say his shoulders were down and he gave up. We didn't felt like that, and eventually we get the match. And Prashid Krishna was as good as Siraj in this match, and I'm happy to seeing this Krishna and Mohammad Siraj doing the things together.
At the start of the England's innings, fourth innings, most people thought that this might not be enough to defend. But I had my doubts that this England side or their approach is not something that they will play 120 or 150 overs. Had they played 150 overs, the win was almost sure for them. And that is something that was on our side because this England team lacks that temperament to play long innings. Even though they took the lead in the first innings, they played a number of less overs than India played. So,
Trust me, actually, I was scared of Jamie Smith.
hmm,
I was a little bit scared about Jamie Smith's performance, but we got
Ditto.
he played well this series. Actually, he played really well this series. This was his first time
Mhm.
I've seen him fully play.
Interestingly, he wasn't even England's first choice keeper.
Abhishek mentioned Prasidh Krishna doing well as well. Of course, Prasidh Krishna did pick up wickets, but again, I will open it up to Satyajit first. That what's way up with Prasidh Krishna going forward? He has picked up wickets, yes. On the score sheet, you don't see how or which players you take the wickets off. Some of them were throwaway wickets, but the way he was leaking runs and but he also picked up wickets. So how do you see Prasidh Krishna fitting into this side, and how much will he be kept in this test side? How long is he going to play?
So Rashid was more of a prey to the baseball approach because if you see in the early overs when the top order is batting, he was leaking 4 to 6 runs per over. He was going at a run rate of 5.7 plus. Then he did some hurry hitting. When the last wickets are there, he took some wickets and the numbers showed up on the score sheets as well. But what I think is he needs to improve with his economy rate. He needs to give lesser runs when he's getting the wickets. Breakthroughs are really important. He got one, he got two in the first innings as well, like important breakthroughs, I mean. But I think he's lacking somewhere when he's giving those runs because the constant pressure is being built up. So there is some work that BCCI needs to do with him. Harshit Rana, on the other end, I was expecting to see Harshit Rana in the team because if you see in Australia, he was very effective while dismantling some of the top order batsmen. He was also leaking runs, I will tell you that. So between Harshit Rana and Prasidh Krishna, there would be a competition to see who does better.
Yeah, Abhishek.
I would say England was targeting Prashid Krishna because if you have to take chance against any bowler, Prashid Krishna was like the best choice for them. Akashdeep being new, you can even A- Akashdeep got hit, uh, like even he gave run, but somehow when England batsmen felt comfortable around Prashid Krishna, and even they gave wicket to Prashid Krishna due to that baseball approach.
Shiradeep?
Yeah, so I agree with what was said in terms of this match. Yes, he was being targeted. Most of it was because there were no other bowlers that England could go after. The spinners, of course, yes, but they were this was not a spinner's pitch at all. So the 8 overs that the spinners got, they were hammered naturally. But my problem with Prasid's bowling has been throughout the entire series, the games that he has played. The previous games also, uh, you are never confident with the score that you have to defend in the fourth innings. If Prasid is in your team, you sort of tend to Gill. We understood all with Gill's declaration approach in the other tests where Prasid played that he wanted to have a cushion of an extra like 50 odd runs so that Rashid, even if he gets hammered, the match doesn't go away. It didn't need to be that way. That's a different story. But so, which is where other bowlers, I'm not sure if Rana is the best choice, but other bowlers like Arshdeep or when Shami comes back, even when Bumrah comes back, these things would definitely would not make Percy the automatic selection into the team. Definitely not in India.
Okay, so we are talking about the Pacers, and let's talk about probably arguably one of the best Pacers currently we have, not just in India but all over the world. Jasprit Bumrah. Effectively, he got 5 day rest before the final test, but he was told or he was allowed to play 3 out of the 5 tests. But uh, this is something that we need to take care of, and he needs to play the more important games. I feel that his absence is starting to, sometimes put a question mark on him being one of the greatest bowlers. Also, the stat we have discussed earlier that we win matches more when Jasprit Bumrah is not playing, and that stat is even getting worse for him. Uh, how do you take on Bumrah going forward from here, and he's especially when it comes to test and workload management?
I would say he needs to work on his fitness first because he was bowling around 70 to 80% balls above 140 in the first test match. In the third test match, the ratio came to around 30-70 or 20-80. It was around 20 to 30% of the balls he bowled above 140. And in the fourth test, that stats got to zero. And if you want a bowler so effective uh, that he can dismantle the whole batting side, yet he cannot perform at its 100%, he cannot give 100%, then there are better options than Bumrah. Or at international level, I would say being 100% fit for a star player is necessary because if you are not giving your 100%, then there are players who can give their 100% and get par to your average game.
Okay. Chirodip.
Yeah, so this might be a little controversial, but if you are the prime bowler of your country, you should be there for the prime matches. I mean, if if you decide beforehand as a management that the premier bowler of our entire pace unit gets to play 3 matches and 3 matches only, even after you get rest and all that. I mean, I know fitness is an issue, but this doesn't step up enough. As we said, the stats. I know stats are misleading, but still, you cannot have the prime bowler missing out of prime games for India. If he misses out on prime games, then I'm not sure if you should be calling Bumrah the premier fast bowler that India has ever produced. Fitness is an issue. I agree. He needs to work. He needs to have his priorities set, which games he should play. For example, just a hypothetical scenario: if you give me Asia Cup over an England Test series, I would definitely ask Bumrah to prioritize the England Test series. But again, these are personal opinions, and I'm not sure how NCA has figured out the 3 test rule. Why not 4 tests? Why not 2 tests? But these are questions that Bumrah has to answer with his performance some other day.
See, what I think is the order we need to have players who are always on their best footing. Workload management and everything are terms that are now being used with the uh, concurrent format of the game. And today you are playing 3 formats, which was not the norm 10 years, 20 years, 20 years, 15 years back. So there is definitely a question of workload management coming in. But for a format like test, we need players who go in and go out and perform in every other match in that series. And we have definitely seen a change or shift in the bowling attack mentality when Bumrah was there and not there. When Because when Bumrah is not there, the dependency factor reduces, and when the dependency factor reduces, everyone is trying to give their best foot forward. So if you see, Siraj's best figures came when Bumrah was not there in the side. So I think it is time that we form a stable bowling lineup. Maybe we cut out Bumrah's some of the assignments. Maybe we cut out Bumrah from some format if needed. But we do, if you have to cut off Bumrah from Test, maybe let him play the other formats. But when he's there, he has to be there for the entire series, so that you can go with a stable team and not just shift, play jigsaw puzzle with every player fitting in the 11. So that is a bad practice for any team. But a winning side needs to be a stable side. You cannot just change the chess pieces every other day and think of getting very good results.
I think longevity and availability is an underrated virtue when it comes to any form of sport, any sport we say. If you are not available, it doesn't matter how much ability you possess, it doesn't help the team. So we have been talking about the bowlers. From there, before we move on to the batsmen, let's no stop for two of our all-rounders, Washington Sundar and Ravindra Jadeja. Many questioned Washington Sundar's inclusion and of also Ravindra Jadeja's inclusion. He has been, leveled at the 36 years old uncle going to play the game and not performing and all. What's your take on the two all-rounders, Washington Sundar and Jadeja? They haven't had much to do with when it comes to bowling, but they have performed really well with the bat, and especially to mention Washington Sundar that he scored 36 or 39 runs when India were nine down in the third innings of the final test, and which ultimately proved to be the deciding factor because 30 runs, 35 runs less is a complete sort of a walkover for England as well. So what's your take on this all-rounder duo? Let's start with Chirodip.
Yeah, definitely. So there would have been a lot of questions arising if they did not perform with the bat, but they have sort of justified their place by their batting performances. Definitely, the bowling was not up to the mark what we expect from all-rounders like them. If India had a better batsman in terms of Shardul or someone, probably India would have gone with them instead of Washington, just because spin doesn't really help much, especially in the fifth test. So if we keep batting out of the question, then yes, there would be questions. Till there, these are not, I mean, just because we drew the series, it should not undermine the fact that the spin bowling department in England has been a problem. Spinners were giving us nothing.
I wanted to add here that if we are talking about all-rounders, yes, they were perfect choice for us at this point of time because with that they were proving their worth, be it fourth test or fifth test, and where the spinners could do something or get something out of that pitch, they performed. Be it
Hmm.
Ravindra Jadeja, or you can say Washington Sundar was like a surprise for England batsmen. He was taking 4 wickets, and even the crowd knew it, and that's why they like crowd was all over Washington Sundar when he got out on zero, and then he proved everyone wrong with that century. And in fifth test, he was all good. But in this test, I would say they were kind of used to give rest to the our bowlers, and the thing that this pitch didn't had anything. They tried for 4 overs and it was all. And they got to know get no, this can't go ahead. And in Indian condition, like it will be the best thing for the Indian side that two spinners who could bat, and in Indian soil, like it's the finest thing.
I think we'll talk about captaincy of Subman Gill as well. We'll talk about captaincy later on in some details as well. But there were some issues with the captaincy when it came to the spinners when they were bowling, with a little bit of field placement, and also Washington Sundar coming after a four wicket haul, he was being brought to bowl in the 69th over. So there were some issues where things did not help this them as the as bowling bowlers, but they did perform with the bat. So Toida, what's your take on these two?
Uh, I think there have been some issues while rotating the bowling, but rather than issues, I would like to label it as more of a calculated move from the team management rather. Because if you see the bowlers were taking it gets at regular intervals, and sometimes because there were talks about being the pitch being heavily rolled, that there
Hmm.
is not much spin generated. Rather, there are bounces and swings being generated out of that rubber pitch. So uh, at the time, it was so heavily rolled that there was no movement in the pitch as well. So I think it was a calculated move from the team management to rather rely on the fast bowlers and see if they can get a breakthrough. So if you see today also they had the same strategy in the morning and it worked really well. I think today only we used two bowlers. Did you use a third bowler? I don't remember at that
No,
point of
we
time.
used
But
to.
uh, so Shiraj and Prasidh Krishna were going in on. So that is the reason why the team chose that we will go with fast bowlers at some point of time. Washington and Jadeja, they have been wonderful all rounders. You cannot ask anything more from them. They have taken wickets at intervals when needed. They have been scoring runs, 50 plus scores consistently from Jadeja. Wonderful effort. But I think there some bowling changes we would have appreciated from the captain. But rather than calling it out as bad captaincy, I would rather say it's some calculated move or premeditated move from the team management and the captain.
Right. Since Toida mentioned the team management as well, and managing the team, how do you see? I would like to put two players right up there. How do you see Sai Sudarshan as the number three player and you know Karun Nair? What's the future of Karun Nair? I was a little mm, unsure about Karun Nair being selected before the start of the series. Well, he scored some runs, 30s and 40s. He did put in those starts. But how do you see Sai Sudarshan as number three? In one of our earlier episodes, we have mentioned that number three is usually the one who is technically most sound player. So, is Sai Sudarshan going to continue at number three, or do we have better options for number three, or do we see Sai Sudarshan in the future playing in the middle order? Satya.
If you if you ask me, then I would say ki number three should go to Shubman Gill because at current I think he's one of the most technically sound batsmen. If you because KL Rahul is coming on the top after KL Rahul, he's the most technically sound batsman. For me, KL Rahul will remain a notch above Shubman Gill when it comes to technicalities.
Techniques.
Uh, and what I honestly believe is number four should go to Shreyas Iyer. He's not a part of this team, we know, but I think he deserves to be in the number four due to his attitude of never let go. He will stay there, he will score runs. Sai Sudarshan had a wonderful opportunity, and this would have been a kickstart to his career but he somewhere missed those runs. Now, if you say that he was scoring 30, 40s, it should be good. Why are you criticizing? I will be criticizing it because this has been a series where 21 players were like 21 centuries were scored, if I'm not wrong. So there are a lot of runs scored in this match, 7,700 runs scored in this entire series. So you want to see at least a century or a half century or multiple half centuries from a player who is coming at number three. We did not get it from him. So I was expecting a lot more from him. So maybe he should be put under watch, and after that, he should be given another chance if we are going with test. I think Seychelles deserves a more chance than him. Karun Nair again, he has scored some wonderful runs. He has scored a half century also in the first innings. Highlight of the first innings was him getting those runs. But I think he should be given a bit more chance because also he's coming to the end of his career and what the position that he's betting in, I don't think there is anyone more fit to go right now. So He is someone whom you can rely with, and he can like he can play at determined test innings. He can get those balls going. He would just leave those balls and stick around when it's needed. So I think Karun Nair should be there, but Sai Sudarshan is in a bit tricky situation right now.
Yeah, Chirodip?
I think for Sai Sudarshan, it's way too less matches for us to conclude that his time is over or he should be given. I mean, he definitely needs to play a few more matches before we can conclude this, I think. As far as Karun Nair goes, yes, he saved the first innings of this test. But apart from that, with this being a very high scoring series where runs were distributed like laddus, he definitely did not impress me personally enough to, I mean, we can conclusively say that Karuna deserves a place for the foreseeable 6 months or a year. This India should definitely try out other players. I would like to take one name. I'm not sure what Abhimanyu Ishwaran has done wrong in terms of his selection, but I think about 15 players have made their debuts after his inclusion in the squad, and he's still waiting for his first game. So,
Yeah, Abhishek?
Uh, Trust me, I was hoping that Abhimanyu Ishwaran will get the chance in the fifth test. After so many chances given to Shai Sudarshan and Karun Nair, I was literally hoping that we might see Arshdeep and Abhimanyu Ishwaran in this test match. Although Karun Nair somehow scored a 50, I would say, and I'm happy for him. But it wasn't enough for this whole series. Even when the pitch got easier, he got out on 30s. And that's not a good thing for when you have performed in the first innings and but couldn't score big in the second inning when the pitch got easier for the batsmen. It somehow shows that you are either you are not strong enough to go with the flow or handle the pressure. I would say he's a better batsman than Washington Sundar, of course, but handling the pressure is a thing which makes a good which makes all the difference between a good player and a better player, or at the basically it changes the place between a Ranji player, first class player, and an international cricketer. So you know how the mentality change, how you can take the whole team, or you can lead the whole team, but Karun Nair somehow lacked that, and I really want to see Abhimanyu in the team.
if we are just talking about domestic runs, then Abhimanyu Ishwaran also has a lot of domestic runs under his belt. So
Yeah,
he
I
definitely should have
agree.
had at least one test match to show what he has. And I
Mhm.
mean, it could not hurt India's chances anyway, because
Yeah, he is in the squad from I think last 1 year.
More than that.
at
We have
least, if not
so
more, yeah, more than one year.
huh?
More
More
than
than
more
one.
than 1 year. More than 1 year.
And it's funny that he hasn't got a chance. I don't know what he needs to prove, where he needs to prove. I'm just waiting. Just give him a chance.
And doesn't look like debuting soon.
Karuna did score a 50 in the first innings of fifth test, but it seemed like too little, too less for Karuna, especially when people were scoring 600, 700 runs. And someone like Ravindra Jadeja, who batted at mostly at 6 and 7, he scored 500 plus runs. So we expected more from Karuna. And as per Sai Sudarshan, batting at number 3, I think he's not the player who is the most technically the most gifted one. There are better players. If I have to name someone who is outside this test setup, people might call it me bias of CSK, but Ruturaj Gaikwad is actually a player who is technically pretty sound and can be an option for number 3. And if we have to look within the team, Shubman Gill, of course, is a good option, and also KL Rahul. I would have, we have talked about Abhimanyu Ashwaran. I would have loved Ashwaran opening and KL Rahul batting at number 3. He's one of the most suitable players when it comes to number 3, who is technically the most sound and continuing the legacy of Rahul Dravid. then Cheteshwar Pujara, then it would have been the best fit if we had have gone KL Rahul at number 3.